Hey y'all, today's reel is Shimano Saragosa 10,000F. We're gonna break it down, put it back together. It's a reel I wasn't gonna do, so I actually already started it. Then I realized I don't have one of these up. So I'm gonna show you what I've done, and I'm also gonna show you, I don't know what else I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you something else. Yeah, this was frozen on there, so it took me a while to remove that nut, but we got that off. What I've done so far is greased those 2 points there. And I also did the drags on this. So I'm just gonna pull them out so you can see what they look like. That's all, just in terms of the stack. We got one more on the bottom somewhere. Alright, we'll leave that here for now, and I will take it out. So the stack looks like that. You have the fiber drag, keyed metal, aired, yada yada yada, as you can see right there. And I used, as always, pretty much the Cal drag grease for it. So I'm gonna stick these back in. This is one of the reels from the gentleman that does not want any parts replaced. So there's at least one issue on there. Well, two so far. Drags need to be replaced on this as well. That needs to be taken care of, or that he should fix. And I'm just sticking these back in, and then I'm going to show you the clip, and then we'll move on. And hey, by the way, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you like the content. Consider subscribing as well, and letting your friends know about the channel. Alright, so it's like a little square clip. I like to start with that point, one of those points that has the broken edge down inside the slot. Just hold on to it, and then just kind of work your way around. Go from the other side, and once you're done with all that, just lift it up or push down, whatever the case may be for you, to make sure it's in that groove that's inside the inside the spool. So we'll be done with that. All right, so to remove the spool, we're gonna pop this off. Now this comes straight up, just like that. And we're going to undo these two screws here to get that rotor nut off. I'm going to work on the rotor first, and then we'll move on to the rest of the reel. I've already forgotten how this nut came off, if it was left or right. I think it's left, but we'll find out. Yeah, it was left. So we're gonna pull this off and then just work on this part. The line roller on this is frozen. To get that rotor up, you simply need to kind of rock back and forth as you pull. Might do this off camera, so just give me a second. I don't even know if I tried this before, after I took the nut off. But it's gonna come up. I've only had, in all the years I've been doing this, one reel. I bite my tongue, but I don't have any wood to knock on. I think one reel that was severely frozen on there, that I could not get the rotor off, and I was not keen on doing it because of the method I had to use to remove it. I was probably going to damage some other stuff on there, and the parts were not available for that reel. I think it was a Pen Conquer or something. It was in pretty bad shape though, I know that. Anyhow, so we can see some rust on there already. We're going to clean some of that off, but there's not a whole lot you can do besides possibly replacing it. I'm using a wire brush. Of course, using a wire brush, you want to make sure you stay on the inside, not kind of work around there, because risk kind of chipping that paint off or scratching it. But for these things, like I said, there's not a whole lot you can do besides just trying to clean it off and adding a layer of protection to it. I think this time I'm going to use some Corrosion X first, and then do not do this part. Some Corrosion X, and then I'm going to use some grease. Kind of let that soak in there. And so it'll help impede or inhibit the rust that's built up inside there, or that's continuing to increase. Alright, so let's go ahead and stick some grease on this. And I'm kind of going to slather that on there. I'm not even sure that's a word. Sounds pretty good though. I have all these words in my head that I use because I have some semblance of an education or intelligence, and they seem like they're right in the context that I use them, but I never really know. I just kind of use them. I'm not even sure why I'm telling you guys that, but all right, let me dust this off. Okay, I saw some stuff inside here as well, so this hole, so I'm gonna kind of clean that out a little bit. I'm gonna take a screwdriver and just kind of feel. All I'm doing right now is a small flat bait screwdriver, just feeling around to see if there's any ridges, any rough spots that would impede that pinion gear from going through it. And I found some stuff right there in the corner. So we're going to kind of clean that out a little bit. It looks okay. We'll do like a little test really quick. I'm not going all the way down, I'm just trying to find it where I can. Okay, yeah, that feels a lot better. Okay, good. All right, so for the bail, there's a bearing inside here, and just like I said, this line roll is frozen, so we're not even going to touch it because he doesn't want to replace the parts on it. Obviously, you can still use a reel even if the line roll is frozen. It's just not my preference. I oiled the line roller. I'm oiling here, here, and I'm going to oil here as well. Inside here where that screw is, and inside here. And the reason we do it is just to kind of help, or in the hopes that some of that oil will kind of get down into the nooks and crevices and help this this portion of the reel function. And notice I do angle it to kind of help or aid the oil go down into the respective areas. You don't need to do it many times. I tend to overdo things. But you know, like Mama said, if you're gonna do it right. No one wants anyone to do a half, I don't know the PC way of saying that, but half blank job on anything. Alright, maybe I should warn you guys today. It seems like one of those days I'm going to be rambling about something, so I apologize in advance if I do. I'll try not to. I'll just clean up some corrosion or some built up salt that I saw inside there. And final step on this, I'm gonna open that up. I saw some stuff inside here. And I'm gonna add a little bit of grease on that. And that should be good. All right, let's jump to the reel. Now I did take that that spool off already. I'm sorry, the rotor off already. So if your handle's on here really tight, then you're not going to be able to remove it. This one was loose because I started on this reel already, like I said. So I did the handle already as well. I'll open this up and show you just what I did. I oiled here in that area right there, and I'm pretty sure I already did this part as well. And if I didn't, we'll just go ahead and get it done now. I don't think I did actually. Yeah, I didn't. Those two screws, two screws come out to remove the cap, and then you can oil inside there. You can clean that out. I'm just going to oil it. The reason we oil that is because there's a bearing inside there. So I'm going to suspect I may not have oiled here as well. So I'm just going to do that too. Alright, I guess let's go ahead and get to what you guys came here for, which is likely the inner workings of the reel. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get busy. Alright, so to remove this, we're going to undo these 4 screws here. These 2 screws on the left, or on my left, are should be longer than the 2 on the right. And you do need to remove that rotor to get the side plate off on this. I'm pretty sure. Hopefully we don't have any surprises in here when we open this up. The fact that I see rust all around there is not comforting at all. And I see some rust inside there too. Oh, do we have to remove this thing? I think we do. I think we have to remove this rotor brake on here. Yeah, we do, to get it off. So let's get this off. I'm gonna raise that up like so. On video, it might look like I'm being rough with this, but I'm not. I'm being deliberate, but not super rough with it. But you want to be careful with these things because the older these reels get, the more brittle these things get, and the more they can break on you. I'm going to remove this anti-reverse. Just give me less room to have to clear to get that off. Come up, yes. That might be frozen, but that's not that difficult to take off. All right, so let's continue with this part. And take that up. Okay. All right, so here are the screws from the housing. These 2 longer ones came from this side, and we lost a short one somewhere. Where'd you go, baby? Right there. And let's see if it comes. Oh, that's not so bad. Nice. Okay. Okay, that's not so bad. Okay. I don't feel so bad anymore. I think we'll be fine. I think it'll be fine. Okay, so you can do it like this. Let's pull this off. You can just lift this main gear up, tilt the shaft, and push out like that. or you can undo the shaft and take it out that way. This way is just easier. I'm gonna pop these things out. Was there a screw? I don't think so. That cross line or gear comes out like that. I'm gonna pull out that, and I think I'm just gonna pause the video, clean this stuff up. You've seen me clean many reels. I want to make sure there's nothing else. I think there's a bushing inside here instead of a bearing. Yes, there is. I'll take it out so you guys can see what it looks like and where it should go. But I'll do that after I come back to you guys. So be right back. All right, so we cleaned everything up. All we're gonna do now is just grease up certain points and get these things put back in. I'm gonna grease this. I don't think I'm gonna fast forward through any of this stuff, so you just kind of have to bear with me a little bit. I'm gonna grease this gear here. This is round. Sorry, I was talking to myself there. Inside there, just pretty much all over. Inside here, I like to add a little extra. And I don't grease the shaft, but I mean, I guess you could if you wanted to. I just feel like it creates more of a vacuum and it slows the reel down. Makes it feel a little funky. Then we do the gear, the main gear. We're gonna work on the upper part after we put all this stuff together, because it doesn't need to be in there to put this part together. Of course, it doesn't mean we can't run into trouble and have to take it apart and do it anyhow, but I'm gonna have some faith in this one. And I also hit the back side of the main gear as well. And let's stick some grease up inside here. All right, a couple more things to grease, but I'm gonna oil these bearings first. The oil will kind of just seep into it. Then we'll kind of work it in afterwards. Probably do a double shot. So for the housing, we're gonna grease where that bearing sits on the right side or on the non-handle side. Inside here where that bushing sits. Around here where the crosswind block is gonna sit. That groove right there. Somewhere around here just in case. And up here where the pinion bearing will sit. Now I know this is plastic or a composite material, but they get frozen in there too. Light amount of grease inside here where that bearing is going to sit, where the handle is. I think we should be good with everything. You don't need to grease this part. But I do. And that's probably the first part I'm going to show you how to put in. Alright, so let's work these bearings in, or the oil in the bearings, and then we'll just move on. There are things on here I would replace. I would replace both of these bearings. They're not critical to the immediate performance of the reel. but down the road they could have an issue, or I suspect they will have an issue. So it's just simply noted on there that seems like trouble. All right, I'm dropping that bearing in. So I guess I lied to you about this part. All right, so this little notch then will fit over a tab that's on the housing inside there. Can't really see it unless you're looking at the rear yourself, but just note that that's where you want this positioned. So I'm just gonna stick it over there like that, and make sure it's lined up properly before you start putting it down, because it's a really small kind of notch. And if you gotta play with it, that's fine. It is what it is. It looks like I got it, so we're in business. That's good. Next we can put on the crosswind, and we're gonna stick this main gear in, and then the shaft. I'll tell you why. Because if I do this first, then I can't get the main gear in. I have to raise this up a little bit. At this point, I'm going to stop and double check everything to make sure I'm not missing something here. Kind of want that seated down somewhere around there, just because, no particular reason. That all looks good. All right, next step will be this. If you see those 3 tabs on the bottom, corresponding slots there, it'll be facing down like this, with those 3 tabs going down. Kind of pop it in, make sure it's all the way in there. Now I'm going to drop this crazy thing. And here are the shims. It came with a bunch of shims on it. Doesn't matter what order you put them in. I don't really think so. So just stick them on there. Typically you want the thinner washers contacting the bearing, but I separated these with my fingers. I'm just kind of running some grease through them. The fact that they had some rust on them is a good idea to do that anyhow. Make sure I didn't miss one. I thought I did. All right, and I'm going to stick this bearing on there. Now we'll get to this plate, and then we'll put this this ring around it. If you notice, this has a tabbed end or a post right here. There's a receiving hole right there. So the way you put that on is to have that receiving hole fit into that, or sorry, that tab fit into the receiving hole, just like so. And then I'm going to cover it up. Make sure I don't have anything missing here. That all looks good. And he's going to go straight down. Well, pretty much straight down. Try not to force anything on this. This really is a simpler way of doing it, but I have found a way to make it not as simple. That block was raised up, so I'm going to hold on to that as I do it. Hopefully I don't get that shim slipping off of there. I think that's why I was doing it. Yeah. Okay, so now we're good. Now we can screw that stuff in and secure the housing. Now you don't want to tighten. I'm not going to tighten these down right away. All I'm just going to do is just to secure it with 2 screws. Because if you've seen my videos before, you know sometimes I have a tendency to forget things, and or may need to go back in there anyhow. Alright, so now I'm going to put this ring on. I'm going to add some grease to it. like that. And I'm not gonna start over here. That's the last part I'm gonna do, because you kind of have to slip it inside that gap right there. Be careful around this. That always kind of scares me a little bit. And now you just kind of work it until you get it inside the groove that's sitting right there, like that. And now you're set. I'm gonna add something here. Probably gonna wipe it off as I work with it anyhow, so I'll probably have to put it back on there again. But I'm adding a little bit of grease there. Now I really have read some places where using grease on these brakes, or that little rubber piece there, can damage it, but I haven't found that. Alright, so this is the frozen part that I think should be pretty simple to come out. If it's not, I'm going to pause the camera and pop it out. Of course it's not simple. What was I thinking? Why would it be easy? Okay. Alright, so I'll come back to you guys in a sec. I'm going to pop this out. I'm going to separate all these pieces now because the bearing may be frozen on there as well. It spins, so that's fine. Or that's good. So I'll see you guys in a bit. That was actually the perfect time for the for me to pause that video there. The battery died on me. Anyhow, got all this stuff separated. We have a little bit of rust areas here and here. We're gonna clean this stuff up. I do want to give a big shout out to Ernie at Bearing Bad. He supplies me with a lot of little tools that I use to make it easier for me to free some of these things up. So thanks, Ernie. All right, I'm gonna clean this stuff off. And I'm showing you this because there's some rust in there. Oof. This is actually something I may reuse, even if I were servicing the wheel, because the rust on there is not super terrible, and it was working before. There are times where you look at the anti-reverse and it's like super rusty, even though it works. I kind of want to get rid of it. I guess that's just from being cheap, but yeah, referring to myself, that is not the customer. Anyhow, all right, so if you see inside there's a little bit of rust, we're gonna clean that out. There's a couple ways you can do it. You can open this up entirely and do like a deep clean on it. I'm not doing that. You could also spray some corrosion X in there and just kind of wipe like I'm doing here until you get no more liquid inside, or you get very little liquid inside, because these are supposed to be dry. First I'm going to do this and see how it looks, and if it still looks pretty bad, then I might speed that part up and just continue to work on this, because I want to try to save this for him. That's looking pretty good. Every so often I do go backwards. Just be careful when you do that. It looks pretty good. Alright, so we'll leave it like that. And the beauty was there's no rust at all, or any wear or evidence of rust or anything on there on the bottom, so that was good. Let's go ahead and oil this bearing. Then we're going to work on that pinion, get some of that. Remember that thing was frozen on there, so we want to kind of free that up a little bit. And we'll pretty much be done with this reel. I'm not sure how long this video is, but it didn't feel very long to me today. It probably still was just as long as most of my other videos, but just saying, from a perception standpoint, this one didn't feel very long. Alright, I'm going to use a wire brush just to kind of get this top part if you want to use a wire brush, I would probably recommend using a brass brush versus this stainless steel one. That's what I had on hand, and I kind of know what I'm doing, so I don't know, I'm cracking myself up. I hope you guys think these things are funny as well, but who knows. Alright, so that was a lot of grease. Let me try to spread some of that stuff out. I like to grease the entire thing. Put a little too much grease on this thing, but oh well. I like to grease the entire pinion. You don't need to, but I like to from a protection standpoint. And I also grease these threads as I do the pinion gear. Let's stick this bearing on and kind of work that oil in there. That's good enough. Now I'm going to test this stuff out first before I put anything inside there. I want to make sure these things are going pretty good, and it doesn't, so I'm going to kind of work that back and forth just to get it to be kind of free, because I want to stick this pinion on without the bearing. It helps give it a little bit of play when you're trying to get it set with the main gear. So, and inside that that sleeve that's inside there. That should be good. Yeah, we're good with that too. We'll clean it off again in a sec. All right, so then we take our pinion, slide it down there, and as you go down into that receiving sleeve, you want to turn the pinion gear as you go down, so you don't strip anything off either gear. While I'm here, let me go ahead and get some grease on this thing. You don't want too much grease on there, because remember that's going to interact with that the anti-reverse anyhow, so you don't want any kind of seepage. Now we can stick our bearing on there. That should go down nice and easy. Now for the anti-reverse clutch, there's two little tabs on the bottom. They're going to fit in that hole there and there, with that little notch fitting over the cam right there. So it'll sit just about like that. Screws are going to go in that post, that post, that post, and that post there. Nothing goes there. Hope I didn't do that too fast. And we still have some housing screws to put in, so we're not done yet. We're just going to put this in, test out the feel or the spin on this, and close it up if it's good. If you notice what I'm doing here is, you see me go in sometimes and then I back it up and then try again. It's because I can feel it's not going into the right groove. So if I continue in that route, then I'm just going to end up either opening the hole up too much or rethreading it, which is essentially the same thing over the long run. Alright, so now stick this rotor on there. I'm going to add some grease inside this hole right here and on the bottom. Definitely some here. And where that plate's gonna sit over the rotor nut. Now let's test this out and see how it feels. Oops. Did I do that? I did. That inner race there is keyed, so just make sure you find it. When you work it down to there, just kind of turn that pinion gear to get it seated. Hey. All right, just want to feel it. Feels okay. I'm probably gonna open that up. Let's see. Yeah, all right. Feels all right. What I'm doing here to remove that handle is I'm pinching onto the pinion gear to have some, oops, I shouldn't take that off. To have some leverage to remove the handle. Why did I do it? I don't know why I did it. All right, so let's get this nut back on. And I don't like this nut. As a matter of fact, I think I'm gonna go backwards. Yeah, I'll go backwards on this thing. To line this thing up, you kind of want to get the ends of those, the corners of the screw or the nut, excuse me, around the hole. But if you miss it, so like that, if you miss it, you can certainly work it with that plate on there. And as always, whenever you finish doing your reel or putting it back together, always test it out to make sure it's working fine and feels fine. All right, let's get our final screws inside here. And now we can lock all these down. All right, so we're gonna get this plate on, this clicker, the click here. Stick on our spool, and the last step I do is not that. I add grease to right there where the knob is going to go onto. Feels good. Let's see how the flip works. Oh, the flip works better. It wasn't working that well when I first tested it out. All right, guys. Hope that helps some of you guys out there. Again, that's how you put together or take apart, service, and put together Shimano Saragosa 10,000F Again, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button, that like button, and let your friends know about the channel if you appreciate the content. Or even if you may not appreciate it, they may appreciate it. Feel free to let them know about the channel so they can check it out for themselves. All right, guys, thanks again, and I'll see you all next time.